See that our chief news reporter Kaveh Solhkeol has joined us on set to reflect on this huge news tonight. Kaveh, you thought your working day was over. You've had to get yourself back into the office because this is a huge announcement, isn't it, that they've managed to secure Guardiola for another 2 seasons?
I mean, it feels like a sort of early Christmas present for all Manchester City supporters. It's the news they've been waiting for. To tell you the truth, I don't think it was really in that much doubt. We've been down this road before with Pep Guardiola. In the past, when he's extended his contract, it's normally been at this kind of time of year. And I think it suits Manchester City because obviously they needed to know if he was going to leave. This is the kind of time they would need to know in order to start making contingency plans for a possible replacement. But I think they've been very relaxed behind the scenes. They've always known that, as Pep himself just said there, he has everything he needs at Manchester City. There is no better place for him. And he realises that this is where he wants to be. A lot of people will be looking from the outside in and saying, what more is there for him to achieve? I mean, his record is incredible. He's won everything there is to win. He's rewritten the record books, but he's still got that inner hunger to achieve more, to build a new team, to prove the doubters wrong. And I think it could have a really galvanising impact on Manchester City's season as well. There's sort of people writing and saying that, Manchester City are going through a really, really difficult spell. Is this the end of their dominance? I don't think it is at all. I think, for what it's worth, in my opinion, Pep Guardiola is, I would say he is the best coach that we've ever seen in football. I think there's an argument to say Sir Alex Ferguson is the best manager. But when it comes to sort of tactical innovation, when it comes to coaching players, developing the way the game is played, I think Pep Guardiola stands head and shoulders above anyone else.
You think about the timing of this. It's come on the back of 4 defeats in a row for Manchester City, something we're certainly not used to seeing under Pep Guardiola. Do you think that can help inspire the players and rejuvenate the team and get them performing to the levels that I guess we're used to expecting from a Pep Guardiola team?
I think we should put things in perspective. Manchester City is still second in the table. I still think they've got a brilliant chance of winning the title. They've got a very good chance of winning the Champions League again. Let's not forget they're in the Club World Cup at the end of the season in the USA as well. I think you have to take into account the fact that Pep Guardiola and Manchester City have had to deal with so many injuries. The kind of injury problems they've had this season would test any squad. And yes, I know Manchester City have got an absolutely fantastic squad, but I think a little bit too much has been made of their sort of loss of form. I think if you look back, even the sort of Manchester United sides under Sir Alex Ferguson, this kind of year, they would go through patches and lose games. No team is going to win every game. I think Pep has got an incredible win record at Manchester City, something like 72% win rate. 72%.
Yeah.
So there are still, 28% of games that he doesn't win. But I mean, 72% is extraordinary. I think it's quite significant as well that he signed a 2-year deal, because when the news first came out in The Athletic earlier this week, it was reported that he was going to sign a 1-year deal with an option of another year. I don't think we've had it yet confirmed whether it's a 1+1 or it's a straight 2-year deal. It sounds like, from the information that Manchester City have released, that it is a 2-year deal, which would take him to 2027.
Yeah, absolutely. From what they've said on their website, it has signed a new 2-year contract extension with Manchester City. So you'd certainly think that is Pep Guardiola locked down for the next 2 seasons after this one. Was this always a certainty, do you think, though, Kaveh?
I think it was always more likely that he would stay than leave. I think obviously there was talk about him possibly being interested in the England job. I think he's made it clear that he would one day like to manage an international side, and because of his Catalan roots and his sort of close affinity with the Catalan independence movement, there have been question marks about whether he would actually ever manage Spain. There's been talk that maybe one day he would want to become the Brazil manager. but I don't think he's ever sort of ruled out the England job. And looking down the road, I could see him one day managing England. I think that is something that would appeal to him one day. I think the sort of option was there if he wanted to become the England manager. I think he could have said to the FA that, yes, this is a job I want when my contract runs out at the end of this season. But obviously he feels that he still has a lot to do at Manchester City. And the one thing that I would not actually underestimate is the Club World Cup at the end of this season as well. I was with Manchester City in Saudi Arabia for the Club World Cup last December, and you could tell how much it meant to him. You know, some people treat that competition as a sort of glorified friendly, but for Pep Guardiola, it was a really, really big deal. And I think it is going to be a really, really big deal this summer for him as well in this new expanded 32-team tournament. So I think he still feels that he's got unfinished business. He feels comfortable at Manchester City. He's surrounded by people he trusts. The sort of structure around him is world class. I think there was a little bit of a question mark as well about whether he may decide to leave because Shigi Begiristain is leaving in the summer as well. There's a new sporting director, Ugo Viana, coming in from Sporting. So there was maybe a sort of theory that he could make a clean break as well, the same time as Begiristain leaves, Pep Guardiola leaves as well. But that is not the case. He wants to stay. For my money, I think it's not just fantastic news for Manchester City supporters. I think it's fantastic news for the Premier League as well. Because if you go around the world, we've just heard from Premier League managers saying what they think about Pep Guardiola. You know, he is arguably, probably, I think, definitely the greatest manager of all time. And the longer he stays in English football, the longer he stays in the Premier League, I think the better it is for the whole of English football.
Yeah, 18 trophies in his time at Manchester City. Now, there is something hanging over this football club that we are talking about, 115 Premier League charges. Do you think that played a part in this decision at all?
In the decision for him to stay?
Yeah.
I don't think so at all. From what Pep Guardiola has always said, he has been always very, very confident that Manchester City will be cleared. Manchester City themselves have always been very confident. They have always said that they have done nothing wrong and the whole truth will come out. And the hearing is going on at the moment. I think Pep Guardiola's belief in the people he works with has always been unwavering. He's also sort of adopted this us against them mentality at the club in that they feel that, you know, they are being attacked and they have to defend themselves, and the players do that and the fans do that and the clubs do that as well. So I think that he's confident that Manchester City will be cleared. I know in the past he's been asked about what would happen if the worst came to the worst and Manchester City were relegated, and he always gave the impression that he would stay and fight. He's Manchester City through and through. But I think, to answer your question succinctly, I don't think it has anything to do with the 115 charges. I think this is to do with football. It is to do with his personal life, and it is to do with the connection that he has with his players, the people he works with, and the supporters and English football.
Kaveh, Pep Guardiola is now synonymous with Manchester City. Looking at his time at other clubs, 2008 to 2012 for Barcelona, 2013 to 2016 at Bayern Munich, 2016 to 2027 at Manchester City. A remarkable length of time, over a decade. Just reading in their statement as well that he will become the man who's led City in more games than anyone else in their history if he sees out this contract. Why do you think he's chosen Manchester City to be the club which he stayed at for so long, particularly given the affinity that he had in his playing days with Barcelona?
Good question. I think, hand on heart, I would have to say that I'm one of those people who, when Pep Guardiola moved to Manchester City, I would not have thought that he would stay for 10 years. At Barcelona, everybody knows his history with Barcelona as a player and a manager. I think he felt that the pressure got too much. He needed to leave. He needed to take some time out from football. And then he went to Bayern Munich. Fantastic coup for Bayern Munich to get him. He won trophies there. OK, he didn't win the Champions League, but he only stayed there for the term of his initial contract. And then when he left, there were sort of doubters when he first came to English football. It took a bit of time for the players to adapt to his methods. And there were some people who were saying that the way he likes his teams to play wasn't really going to work in English football. Well, he's proved all those doubters wrong, because what he's done has been revolutionary. The way you see sides at all levels of English football play is maybe not, it is the sort of Pep Guardiola way, but it is a way that he learned in Barcelona, that he learned from Johan Cruyff, that Johan Cruyff brought from Dutch football. And when you watch football now at any level, Premier League, Championship, League One, League Two, non-league, every team now plays out from the back. Every team plays with inverted wingers, inverted fullbacks. This is all Pep Guardiola. This is what he has brought to English football, which is why I say, in my opinion, I think he's the best coach we've ever seen, because Sir Alex Ferguson, for all he achieved, at Aberdeen, breaking the stranglehold of the old firm on Scottish football, beating Real Madrid in a European final with Aberdeen to win a European trophy, everything that he achieved at Manchester United, you would have to say that he is the greatest manager that we've seen, greatest manager. But I didn't really see him sort of develop new ways of playing. Yes, his Manchester United sides were fantastic to watch. Incredible wingers, incredible forwards, incredible midfielders. They were a brilliant team to watch. But he didn't really revolutionise English football the way Pep Guardiola has done, which is why I say that even if you're not a Manchester City supporter, you should be applauding and celebrating the fact that one of the all-time greats is living and working in this league in England.
I think fans will definitely appreciate him. Some rival fans might be a little bit disappointed.
I sound like a Manchester City supporter.
You do a little bit, but that's okay.
Getting a bit carried away.
He's iconic with the Premier League, isn't he? You talk about the likes of Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger, Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola now.
I mean, even the team I support are bottom of the table, but they play the Pep Guardiola way as well. Even though they're losing games, can't buy a win, haven't won at home for ages, you go and watch them, they still play out from the back. They've still got, the Pep Guardiola of playing. That's how big his influence on the game has been.
I mean, you only have to look at Mikel Arteta's learnt his trade from Pep Guardiola. Enzo Maresca doing exactly the same now at Chelsea, learning from Pep. His influence is quite something.
Yeah, and it's going to continue in the Premier League for at least the next 2 seasons after this one as well. Kaveh, thank you very much for joining us.